put it on my computer. And yeah, I'll try and do some kind of introduction. I always kind of stutter a bit over the introduction. I used to do a rolling start and just fade myself up into the conversation, but I'm trying to be grown up about my podcast now and do a proper introduction. But yeah, let's just make a start. So welcome, NeoPositivity, all the way from America. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
You're so welcome. So it's extra special. Not only do I have you, but I also have my son Leo is joining in the conversation because he's home at the moment, which he hasn't always. And because when I was saying that I had this conversation, he instantly looked you up and he's like, this guy looks interesting. I've got questions. So here we are. This is going to be great. So Neo, introduce yourself a little bit more. Tell us who you are, what you do, and yeah, let's get into it.
My name is Neo. I have a website called NeoPositivity.com where we primarily focus on that voice that tells you you can't and you won't. You know, how dare you dream that big? You know, how often that voice is attacking you throughout the day and why it's doing what it's doing. And yeah, the law of attraction mixed with trying to eliminate that voice, you know, has done really, really good by me. I've been able to retire and I got my pilot's license and the Super Bowl ring and, you know, all kind of different, basically anything I point at. When I use this formula, it works. And since it's been working, I've just traveled the country, you know, showing some people how I do what I do, meanwhile learning from others. And that's the path that I've been on for the past 14 years. Now I throw law of attraction summits, you know, so I can get a bunch of people exchanging ideas and just learning and using, you know, what I learned to get more stuff to enjoy this life, you know?
So I understand, Neil, that you, before this, were a police officer operating in Kansas. Is that correct?
Camden City, New Jersey, yes.
Camden City, New Jersey, my bad. Okay, well, either way, I'm just curious as to how somebody who works in that line of work, which I can imagine is quite vicious at times, ends up moving into something so oriented with well-being and positivity, you know, when generally policing is seen as quite a grim experience.
Well, you're right about grim. Vicious, I wouldn't say vicious, but I just think of it like this. And for anyone who's looking for their career, what they're meant to do in life, I would try to look at it kind of like this. I wasn't meant to be doing that. My two favorite things growing up to do were karate. You know, I've been in martial arts most of my life, and football. I'm obsessed with football, and you know, so chasing people, tackling them, and then fighting with them sounds like it would be perfect for me. And so, literally, my dad was a cop, my sister was a dispatcher, a bunch of my cousins are cops. It was just a family thing, and when football didn't work out for me, I took the police test. And there I was, and I was great at it. I was really, really great at it. But there was this part of me that was like a kindergarten counselor my whole life. I've always been that person people confided in and told their secrets to. And I was always really good at giving advice, and I didn't know how. You know, when I was in high school, I hadn't been through anything, relationships, marriage, or anything like that. So I don't know how I was good at giving that good advice, but I knew that I was good at it. I knew it felt good when I did it. So I knew that's what I was meant to be doing. Mm-hmm. So after I saw the movie The Secret, that's when I said, you know what? They're teaching me how to get what I want out of life. I know I love being a cop, but it's not 100% for me. Plus, there was 80,000 citizens in the city of Camden. I wanted to help the world. Mm-hmm. That's a small little chunk of the world. I can't sit in that one spot and just help them. And it just felt like I needed a change. And that's what happened. You know, one thing led to another. I ended up with the movie The Secret and coming up with my own mental exercises and just getting really, really good at, how do you say, wielding, you know, the molecules around me.
Your energy, you're an energy worker, essentially. I mean, that's what my podcast does. You know, half my podcasts, or most of them, are meditations. But these conversations that I have are always with people who work with energy. This is what I find so interesting. And one of the main reasons why I wanted to talk to you is, but I found that in my meditations, and I've done 70 odds, so sort of covered all sorts of different aspects of life and so on, but the one that is always at the top of the charts in terms of listenership, because people go back and they listen to old ones and repeat, I'm sure the number one is the manifestation meditation. And it is one that I've used the Abraham Hicks technique of that time, that 17 seconds time, and then the 68 seconds time, to just like really focus in on the meditation, on your manifestation.
You're gonna have to teach me that one real quick. How fast can you teach me that?
Well, there's a podcast right there. You just go and listen to it.
All right, I need to see that podcast.
No, it is. You know who I mean by Abraham Hicks, do you? Yeah, of course. Yeah. So he is the sort of spirit guide to Esther Hicks, who saying this, who has taken him. He's written many books. The Law of Attraction is the book.
I've read a bunch of them.
Yeah, they're amazing. And what Abraham Hicks says is that if you focus your attention for 17 seconds, that is all that is required to begin that manifestation process. And then I don't know how many times does 17 go into 68?
That's quick maths.
It's quick maths.
About 5.
2.7. No, I'm joking.
But 68 seconds, I think. I mean, I'm saying this off the top of my head, and I don't entirely trust myself. But I think it's 68 seconds is when you get used to really focusing for that 17 seconds. Then you move on to the more advanced, which is 68. Anyway, this is what I teach in that, taking it straight from Abraham Hicks to give to as many people as I can. So your law of attraction, your methods, if you like, of manifestation. Talk me through what your work is, how it goes for you.
You know what? I haven't been able to crunch it down into anything quick. But and I'm sure you know this as well as anyone else who's into the law of attraction. It's not quick. It's a total mind makeover, and that's the beginning. Once you make your mind over as far as how you see things, like, for example, someone cuts you off on a highway, it's like, maybe I wasn't meant to be at that red light. That person could have just saved my life. Like a different perspective. You have to do that for every subject that's important to you. And on top of that, you have to shift the brain muscle as far as like waking up more often, because most of the day we're on autopilot. Working that muscle to wake up more often and just stop and just be, just feel and smell the roses and stuff like that. You're going to have to shift that muscle to do that more often. And then you're going to have to do things like affirmations or anything where you're playing some sort of make-believe where you're feeling that thing, that moment, that gift, that time, that occasion. You're really feeling it. And that's the 17 seconds that, Esther Hicks is probably talking about, Abraham Hicks is talking about. Really feeling it, because if you're not feeling it, basically what I call it is a hollow thought. That's like the people that go, I love life, I love life, I love life. And they say it 10 times and go to sleep and they expect to be millionaires. And when they're not, they're like, this law of attraction stuff doesn't work. Those are hollow thoughts. You're not into it. You're not feeling it.
Yeah.
When you have a thought, it travels down your spine and releases from your lower back in an energy wave. And it goes across the entire universe. That thought is strengthened by the emotion. If there's no emotion behind it, it's how much movement is it going to do? I was actually just working on this slide on this presentation I'm doing, and I'm using one of Will Smith's quotes. It's like a paragraph, so I don't know it by heart, but basically he's like, a thought is a physical thing. And when it gets sent out, it's a physical thing being sent out into the physical world. It has no choice but to affect it. And that's for the people who are like, it's not real. But as far as manifesting, everything I just said was a different chunk, including the Will Smith, but they're all necessary, plus 50 more subjects to getting this right. But if you wanted a quick cheat code, I would say it's not going to totally shift your mentality. It'll be like more like painted over rust, But from the movie The Secret, I'm so happy and thankful I'm so happy and thankful for. And that is how I pretty much get anything that I just like need on the fly. For example, I didn't need this on the fly, but when I first started the law of attraction, after seeing The Secret, I knew that I was going to have to get my mind in check. If I'm going to do these mental exercises and practice, what I call them, and practices that they teach you, I have to first get some kind of control of my mind. And I know in order to do that, I have to first start meditating. I have to basically practice quieting the mind. You know, if you want to quiet the mind, you got to practice quieting it. And so that was when brain running rampant. I'm a cop in the most dangerous city in America. I got 2 kids, all this stuff going on. I tried meditating, and for the first 16 days, it was terrible. I couldn't figure out why. I couldn't stop thinking, like, what is going on? It's just thought after thought. And most of them aren't good. Like, what is going on? Thoughts become things. And it wasn't, I remember it was 16 days later. I said to myself, ooh, I'm going to use that little cheat code from the movie. And I said, I'm so happy and thankful that I enjoy meditating, because I hated it. I hated it. And I said, I'm so happy and thankful that I'm good at meditating. And I kept saying that over and over again. And I've loved meditating. Has been one of my favorite things to do since then. That was in 2008. And so that cheat code, I call it a cheat code, is something I would encourage anyone to use for anything. You have a meeting in a half an hour. I'm so happy and thankful that meeting went great. Notice it's past tense. You're past the meeting. You're talking about something that already happened. You know this. That is another key element, but there's a bunch of key elements that all come together to make this work. And I encourage everybody, just learn as much as you can.
I'm curious to know a bit more about this film, The Secret. So obviously, I think we all come across, whether it's a film or a book, or maybe it's a talk we see, that really gives a powerful shift to our thoughts. But most of the time, even if something really does hit heavily, that alone doesn't act as enough to stimulate genuine, full-on change, the likes of which you've actually been on. And I'm wondering, was it the film alone, or was there something nagging at you already? Like that muscle that you said, were you already working that muscle? And I guess, could you also just generally more speak to what, because I know you mentioned cheat codes, but I'm more curious about that muscle you speak about, and what was that process of getting that muscle working again? Because for a lot of people, that thing is just atrophied for life, if you know what I mean.
If you, let's say if you had a twin that you didn't know about. Sorry, Roseanne.
You don't.
Let's say you had a twin that you didn't know about, and you were just connected to that twin your whole life, and you didn't know what you were missing. You were just yearning, and you were walking down the street once, and you saw them, and you both just knew. That's what I would equate that phrase that's written on my shirt. I didn't have to see the movie The Secret. It was already cooking in me my entire life. As soon as I saw this phrase, every shirt I wear now says "Thoughts Become Things" on it. I mean, that explains it right there. So it was already put in me in high school. I used to go out before football games and just stare at the field. I'll do a 10-yard out, and then I'll quick slant, and then I'll do this. Oh, score. All right, come back. And I would just visualize. I didn't know what I was doing. It was just something that made me feel good when I did it. And I felt like I should be doing it, a couple hours before the game. I would just stand out there. And so, yeah, when that came, it was quick for me. As soon as I heard them, because the beginning, the movie's called The Secret. And phenomenal. You don't have to watch the whole thing, just like the first half an hour, 45 minutes, because then it gets real repetitive, and they just keep saying "thoughts become things" over and over again, a bunch of different people saying it. But basically, you got to skip the movie, go to my website. But that's the gist of it. I knew something more was to life than either random things happening or bad luck happening. And sometimes you got lucky. I just felt like there was a way to get lucky more often. Some people that didn't deserve it were getting lucky more often. You'd see, like being in the police department, the cop would get shot in his arm once, and the certain hollow points go in you and break off into particles. They hit bones and they break off into particles. They're made to do that, so they damage you more. So a cop will get shot in the shoulder once, and it'll spread off into his heart and his neck and kill him. And the bad guy gets shot in his stomach, chest, and his head, and he still lives. And he's got a couple $100,000 in the bank. And it's like, how is this happening? So little things like that, or big things like that, let me know that there was more. There was a way, but it felt like I had to defy the laws of physics or tap into God's computer to figure out how to do this. But when I asked for the answer, when I sat back and asked for the answer, just like Rhonda Byrne, the Secret is a movie. It's also a book. The part 2 is called The Power. If you're gonna read or watch anything, or if you're gonna read anything, just get The Power, because it's like The Secret plus, what's in The Power, plus the second one. But she's always talking about like visualizations, techniques, and stuff like that. And so it's hard to explain, but it's intricate and it's real. And once you learn how to shift, manipulate reality around you, I don't see why you would want to do anything else. Like, I was instantly hooked. I instantly wanted to sink my teeth in immediately. And I started small. And as a matter of fact, I keep it here now. In the movie, they say to think about a feather or a butterfly, whichever one you don't see that often. And I always saw butterflies. They had cocoons and they were always all over my yard, but I rarely ever saw feathers. I don't know if it was real windy where I lived or whatever, but I rarely ever saw feathers anywhere. And the next day, I went outside. Nobody saw the movie with me. Nobody knew what I was doing. And this feather, huge feather, was kind of slightly tucked into my windshield wiper, just dangling in the wind, to the point where I had to run and stop it from flying away. And I was just like, I have a little piece of glue tack on here because I always have it tacked up above my door, my office. So I'm always seeing it, but I tend to talk about it a lot these days. So I put it on the wall right here.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was it. Once I did that, I was just like, oh my gosh, I can do anything.
Yeah.
I can manipulate time and space. I can do anything. And I said, I want to retire. That was first up on my list. 8 months later, I got that. And then that's when I really felt confident, and I started, going for bigger things, and pop my pilot's license, and custody of my kids and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been a journey.
That is a wonderful story. It's very inspiring, because it just takes one little thing to just shift that mental state from what you was obviously really ready to experience and ready to like expand upon. And, it was all there inside of you. And this is, something that I always say, that everything you need is already there inside of you. It's just a matter of dragging it out. But for you, it was very near the surface, and the book and the movie rather just blew that door off, and you were good to go. And it's wonderful that you're sharing it as well, that because so many people just take this and just do their own work, but to want to share it is the best thing. We have that in common.
Why would you not want to scream this from the mountaintops? It's any good news, I want to just scream it out loud, especially this. You mentioned I wanted to mention Mother Nature. Anything we need as people, every ingredient to heal anything that could be wrong with us is here on this earth in these plants, and it's the same thing, but with us people. Anything we need, it's all the information's already in here somewhere. We just got to tap into it. I have this clip on my Instagram I took from a movie. I think it was Bruce Almighty. Have you ever seen that movie with Jim Carrey?
I have seen that. Yeah. Big film.
Well, when he first told Jim Carrey, "You're going to be God, I'm going on vacation," he started walking up the ladder in that big white building or whatever. And he was like, wait. And he was like, what if I need you? What if I need help? And God basically, Morgan Freeman was like, that's the problem with you people. You keep looking up. And, him, and it's symbolized because he was looking up at the ladder and the light was shining down on him. He was like, it's within. And it is. The answers are in here. And that was something I knew also. I was never really good at reading. It takes me a long time to get through books, but then audiobooks, came out. But even through all that, I somehow knew that I would get the better answers up here if I just asked questions and listened. Just ask questions and listen to the answers you get. but be able to differentiate the voices. One is the intuition or God or universe, whatever you want to call it. That's usually the very first one. The second one is usually you. And then the third, fourth, and fifth is your ego talking all of its junk. Mm-hmm. So when you see that $1,200 purse in the window and you're like, I should have that, that's intuition. The universe wants you to have that. But then you think to yourself, rent's due. It's not going to break me, but that would be tough. And then the ego starts with the, how dare you? Nobody, how many people have that bag? What would it cost? Are you going to have to get on a payment plan? What would you have to sacrifice with all of its ideas? So being able to differentiate the voices and use that to your advantage is a beautiful thing. Rhonda Byrne is the female that made The Secret. And the book, part 2, The Power, she talks about asking questions and getting answers. She'll ask, like, if she loses her keys, she'll ask, where are my keys? And she'll get the answers. If she, expects to get the right answer, because sometimes you ask and you're like, oh, is this going to work? I don't know. It's never worked before. It's a whole mental game. But of course, she's expecting to get the right answers. And she appreciates already having gotten previous right answers. Thus, thoughts become things manifesting in the future where she's going to get the next right answer to where her keys are. So like I said, it's a mixed formula of a bunch of different things going on. And it would behoove you to learn as much detail as you can about this maze of beautiful information.
I'm curious as to what you said there about the different voices that come to you at different times. The way I like to look at it is you have your gut feeling, the heart that says something to you, and then your brain that says another. And the essence of trauma, as I'm sure you know, is a disconnection from your gut feelings. And what that means is that maybe those lessons that the universe is trying to teach you just don't scan in your head because you're too accustomed to just saying to yourself, I'm not good enough, or this is going to go wrong, or having that essentially doomed mindset, which is particularly popular over here in the UK.
I think it's pretty universal.
Pretty universal.
Yeah. I was going to say, wait a minute, what do you guys got going on over there?
I'd say we're as an old country, we're pretty good at being quite mean to ourselves and taking what we'll call the glass half empty angle. And I guess my question in response to that is, because what you say is really important about differentiating those voices. What do you do with somebody, and I'm sure you meet them all the time, with somebody who doesn't even hear those good voices, only hears the egoic voices and only hears the voice that says that they're not good enough? What is the thing that you would say to that person?
They got to listen and they got to try. You got to practice. This isn't something you just learn from this podcast and you're good at it, or you're even halfway good. You have to sit down, ask yourself a question, sit down in a quiet spot, no dogs barking and your child's running back and forth trying to get food or whatever. Quiet place, nothing to do, no task. And you have to ask yourself a question and then listen to the answer. And that's just the first step. Once the answer comes, you have to dissect how it came at you. What was the wording? Why did it come at you that way? Ask yourself again and see if you get the same answer back again. There's a lot that you have to do, and you have to do it often, but it's all learning yourself. If you're going to go to the gym and lift weights for an hour, you owe at least an hour to your mind. At least, because the gym time and the muscles and all that are working off your mentality anyway. So you should be spending more time on your mind than you should be in the gym. And once you do get that meditative or get quiet and start practicing listening, you'll see the voices. You'll differentiate. Ooh, I didn't like that one. That one wasn't me. And then, oh, I like that. And that's how you learn how to do it. But you can't twist someone's arm to do this. People either want to do it or they don't. And that's the sad part, because with life coming at us a mile a minute, most people want to do it, and they just don't have the time to, and they're too busy. But I put them in the category, or they don't. You either want to do it and you do it, or you don't want it that bad. I don't care how much you want to do it. If you didn't do it all week, you didn't want it that bad. Because if I was paying you to do it, you'd have set alarms and you would have made sure you got these tasks done. And that's how all my mental exercises are. I have I have 43 different mental exercises.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about your mental exercises. These sound brilliant. Hit us with a few good ones. Come on, 43.
I will. Before I hit you with that, just let everybody know I have a newsletter. Just go to neopositivity.com and sign up for the newsletter. 5 days a week, you'll get a different mental exercise. There's 43 of them, so it'll be a while before you get back around to the first one, but they're all absolutely amazing. A bunch of them I've made up for myself. A bunch of them I've taken from other people like Dolly Parton and LeBron James, Floyd Mayweather, and stuff like that. All of them, Steve Jobs, Oprah Winfrey, Bill Gates. I've pulled from all of them plus my own. And you know how, like, if you do one today, you'll do it a bunch of times, like 5, 6, 7 times, and tomorrow you'll do it like 2, and the next day you don't do it at all. It's just kind of, as human stuff gets old, you know, that house you're in was the bomb when you first got it. You were excited. Now it's just a stepping stone to the next house. And so because of that, you know, you have to switch up your mental exercises. And also, you know, 2 years would go by before I'd remember, oh, wow, I haven't done that. I forgot that exercise even existed. Oh my God, it was so great. And so I wanted to make sure that never happened again. So that's why I did the newsletter. I'll give you a couple. How would it feel to is amazing. How would it feel to be retired? If you ask yourself that, it's because it's a question. Your ego that would normally, if you say, I'm retired, I enjoy being retired, or I'm so happy and thankful that I'm retired. No matter what you say, you better say it fast, because the ego's coming within the next 3 seconds to kick you in your back and say, no, you're not. You know what it would take for you to retire? How many people have retired at your age? You know, whatever the situation is. So you have to be able to get in and get out without shut the ego up, basically. So when you ask, you know, how would it feel to be retired? The ego has to shut up and let your subconscious answer the question, which means it would feel great. It would feel amazing. And so that's a way to get it to shut up. And so you can vibrate at that frequency, and any two things that vibrate at the same frequency will naturally pull towards each other.
But it's also, it's connecting with the emotion. You're actually asking your mind to come up with this envisaging, visual image or sensation. You're looking for actual emotion. And that's when you actually things start to move, is when you connect with the emotion of that thing. So yeah, absolutely, that's a brilliant exercise. How would it feel to? That's really genius.
And I'm going to piggyback off of that. If you're not even having a bad day, let's just say you're having a neutral day and you want to do a couple affirmations. Sometimes it can feel fictitious or fake when you're trying to smile and get happy, you know, for these affirmations. You could be stuck in traffic and your back hurts, whatever the situation is. You might not, you know, it's
No, you just cut out there for a second.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. That's fine.
Okay. Yeah, I saw something just pop up on the screen.
Okay.
So you have to proactively make yourself feel happy in those moments. And sometimes it's harder, but when you ask yourself this question, your subconscious is doing it for you. How would it feel to be retired? It just comes out of you. You don't have to fake bring it up. So that's a huge part about that one I love. Another one is I deserve. I forget what book I got this from, but it's saying I deserve that lifestyle. I deserve that house. I deserve that job. I deserve that love life. I deserve those kind of relationships. If you truly believe that you deserve those things, once again, the ego has to sit back and let the subconscious feel, yeah, I do deserve it. And when you say it enough, it's just like if I was to say yes 10 times, that's a great affirmation. If I say yes 10 times, by the 3rd time, I'm smiling. By the 6th or 7th time, my brain is throwing at me reasons to say yes. And that's the same thing here. When you're using I deserve, your brain starts to throw at you scenarios. I deserve that house. I deserve that house. I deserve that house. The universe will start to throw at you scenarios of you walking down the hallways, what it would be like to eat dinner there, to have that master bedroom, that driveway, that garage. And so you're invoking these things out of you. What else? There's something that I do. It's not a mental exercise that I would do 10 times in a row, but it's for when the ego does finally step in and say, you don't have that, you can't have that. You just say, well, what if I do? Oh, what if I did? Another question. Well, what if I did? Ego has to shut up and let the subconscious answer. Well, it would be awesome. And right there, you just get that feeling. And so it's basically semantics. It's a mind game. It's all wording to get the ego to shut up long enough so you can sit in this headspace, water that seed long enough to bring that thing into your life. I say water and seeds for everybody doesn't know what I'm talking about. I try to think of every thought like a drop of water going into different flower pots. Things I like about my spouse, things I don't like about my spouse, like about my job, house, kids, that last Facebook post. And, majority wins. The flower pots that get the most water, the most nourishment, those are the ones that'll grow. And I love using the flower pot analogy because there's nothing there when you first start. Then all of a sudden, there's something sitting in front of you, a big old flower or cactus, whatever you're manifesting. But yeah, it's definitely, I love that analogy. So when you hear me say water and seed, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that really is a beautiful image. It's really clear. And I'd not ever thought about thoughts and in that way, but you're absolutely spot on. Yeah, I love that.
Nourishment right there.
Yeah.
That when you first, I think it's that 17 seconds you were talking about, when you first have that thought, you gotta water that seed. How do you expect the flower to bloom with no nourishment? And it goes the same thing with nature, with kids. You all of a sudden, your son is in your belly, you're nourishing him, and now he's in front of you. So everything in nature kind of follows that same formula. It's all beautiful, but unless you study it and know it and make it a intricate part of your everyday life, this can't be secondary. Yeah. Being positive can't be a second thought. Oh man, I forgot to be positive today. This has to be your life if you really want it to work.
Yeah.
So there's no fakeness. There's no fake smiles. When you smile, it's real. And that's tough to do for some people, unfortunately. But people like us are working on that.
Yeah, trying to.
Doing our best. Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
Yes. I'm curious. Yeah, so this is, when it comes to manifestation and bringing things into existence, what I've taken from this conversation so far is that sort of as the Will Smith quote goes, thoughts are actual physical things in a weird way. And I think people generally don't look at them in that sense. They look at them as thoughts are things that just happen to people. But it seems like what you're all about is you actually have a very active role over the thoughts. Would that be a sort of quite succinct way of putting it?
Yeah, exactly. For me, every single thought I have, 60 to 70,000 a day on average per person, every single thought I have is either putting food on a dinner table or money, or it's not. So when people say, do mental check-ins throughout the day and ask yourself, are my thoughts serving me? That's basically what I do every chance I possibly can remember to wake up from tasks and chores and my son and all this other stuff. Every chance I get, I'm on top of it because I know every single thought is contributing to either a good pot or a bad pot. And so, doing things, I've got 54, I think it's probably gone down a couple, but different reminders on my phone. It's not like overzealous or anything. It's just one vibrate on my phone and it vibrates on my watch too. And that's how I know that it's my reminder app. Now, at that point, I can either look at it and it's going to have an affirmation, something I'm working on, something I'm doing, some kind of task. I sold out the arena for July 9th. I'm so happy and thankful that it's sold out for July 9th. It'll be something like that or something else, but I don't always have to look at my watch. I could be driving. I could be in a meeting. When I feel it one time, I could do my affirmation right there. No one even knows I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And I have bank statements and stuff hanging up all over my house, everywhere, $1 million bills. I got a bunch of them glue tacked and taped up in certain places, so if I'm brushing my teeth or whatever, and I look up, it's right there and it's a reminder. So for me, it's a constant thing. I know I got 60,000 thoughts. That's a lot. That's too many to try to wake up 30,001 times to stay 51% positive. If I have 60,000 thoughts today, I know that's too much. So I do what I can. with these little things, and I got this tattoos just for that, and little things that I hang up, but that's nothing. Those are proactive thoughts. Out of 60,000 thoughts, I'll probably have 70 of those today. I need to work on the others. And that's the tricky part, the in-between thoughts. When you're bored, when you're sitting on the toilet, when you're driving in traffic and your brain is just going wherever it goes, those are the ones you need to get under wraps. If you get them to do what you want them to do, that's when their numbers raise, and you don't have to be proactively doing stuff all the time. So that's a huge area of focus for me for all these years. That's been one of the biggest things I've worked on, was shifting, working this muscle. The brain is a muscle, has muscle memory, changing it. The brain will throw at you what it's used to throwing at you. So change what it's used to throwing at you. The only way to do that is through repetition, affirmations. Yes, yes, yes. I love life. I'm so happy and thankful that. And so you're doing all these things for one, to trick the ego, but that's in that moment. You're doing them more often than not and working out and like gym time with them to change your average thoughts, because that's where you're going to win at. That's where you're going to win at right there, because that's a majority of your day. It's a majority of your thoughts. And you'll be a happier person once you change them. People see you being happy. They want to be happy. It trickles out. It filters out. Like Roseanne could be walking down the hallway and just be in a very good mood. And then Leo sees that and he's like, yeah, I want to be like that. And then he goes and posts something really positive on Facebook, and all his friends are like, man, Leo's having a great day today. I want to have a great day too. And then they're really nice to their families. Then it's echoing out and you don't even know it. But that's the whole thing. You got to do it anyway. You got to do it. I'm telling you, it's happening. It's echoing. I've seen it firsthand. It's crazy because we do what we do, like doing podcasts and spreading the word and everything like that. But we don't know who's listening. We don't know who's watching and stuff like that. But no, when it comes to the law of attraction, it's spreading. It's these conversations are being had. People who would consider it hippie talk and mumbo jumbo are starting to believe in it.
Absolutely.
And we're turning heads. We're making way in the world. So thank you guys for, what you guys contribute to that. And Leo, you're probably most important of us all, because your age, you have the ears of the people your age, so use that platform to bring them in.
A lot of people my age, I guess the word would be confused and fearful. And there's a fine line between, you can harness an enormous amount of love and an enormous amount of positivity, and the things that are possible there are incredible. But sadly, there's the other side too. And depending,
that's why you gotta razzle dazzle. That's why
I like razzle dazzle. What does that mean?
I mean, like, I think that the reason why I've progressed the way I have is because I have a unique ability to put things together in a way that's really going to stump you. It's really going to make you think. And like the watering seeds, most people I talk to will never forget that analogy. They'll always think of that. And when they catch themselves being negative, they might picture a flower pot with a cactus, an ugly cactus growing out of it. And it's being able to hit people with stuff like that and make them realize where. I'll tell you the quick story about how that came about. I have a cousin who went to jail, and at every family barbecue, he talks about his time in jail. And he was in jail for 30 days. Okay. It wasn't like he was there for a year. It was 30. And the only reason his parents didn't bail him out because he needed to learn a lesson. They left him in there. Go ahead, do your little 30 days, go to court. Rightfully so. So anyway, at every family barbecue, he's talking about it. And at every family barbecue, I stop him. I'm like, dude, you got to stop doing that. Thoughts become things. Do you want to go back? And he still talks about it. And so one day I'm eating my plate of food in my little circle of people, that group of cousins that I was talking to at that moment. And I hear him again talking about going to jail and And I walked over, and I don't know where it came from. It just came out of nowhere. Intuition, universe, whatever. I just walked up to him and I said, damn, man, that's the seed you're going to water right now. And I saw him put it together. Seed, water, grow in my face. Now it's here. It's part of my life. And I never heard him bring that story up again, ever. And for years, I've been trying to get him to stop 2, 3, 4 barbecues a year. I never heard him tell that story again. I talked to my cousin because my cousins know, obviously, I'm the law of attraction guy. So they don't want to hear the story either. And so when we talk about it now, everybody's like, man, I haven't heard him talk about that again. And I'm like, that's it. So ever since then, I've stuck with the whole water and seeds things because I want to say things that get through to everybody, no matter what your situation is. I want to use metaphors and tell stories and paint pictures that will last with you forever. So when I say zing 'em, that's what I mean. If you're going to talk to the law of attraction, if you're going to talk about the law of attraction, which is probably one of the most hippie, wishy-washy subjects you could talk about, you got to come correct. You got to hit them hard. You got to hit them with something that will make the most skeptical person at least just be quiet because they don't know what to say back because they're still processing what you said.
Yeah.
Which is kind of how I felt when I saw The Secret.
Yeah.
And this is what I love about in awe.
That's what I love about your approach, because quite a lot of people I talk to are very spiritual, and it's, I mean, I study and teach the chakras, and it's all very kind of, and people very easily sort of just bat it away and just go, just sort of silly woo-woo kind of stuff that isn't real. But what you're doing is you're making it really practical and really relevant to everybody and anybody. Even if you've never stepped on a yoga mat, or you've never meditated, or you've never even looked at spirituality as a thing other than sort of some religious thing that you were forced to do as a child or whatever. And that's very much the attitude in the UK anyway, or broadly in the UK. But I love the fact that you're making it really straightforward and irrefutable, because this is what it needs to be. The work, this positivity work, this law of attraction work, it needs to be, like, you're right, when Leo's talking to his friends, he needs to say X, Y, and Z. And for them not to be able to come back and go, oh, Leo, you're talking a load of nonsense. It needs to be irrefutable. So yeah.
Leo, have you ever been in an argument with somebody and they said something, you were just stuck? You didn't even know what to say back. Probably a female. Probably your mom.
I'm lucky. I've got a good mom, but plenty of people, male, female, and everything in between. For sure, I get left stumped by some people. It's like you don't know where to go.
Yeah, and that's how you. That's the only way to get people. You got to shut them up. They have to because once they shut up, they'll think about it for a second, because they're rejecting it at first. It's this woo woo. I don't know. It's talking about positivity. I've been positive before, and bad stuff still happen. To them, it's super woo woo, and so you got to be able to make them sit down and shut up for a second mentally. I'm from the hood, point blank, poor, poverty, fighting, crime, shootings, all that other stuff. So those would probably be the most difficult people to get this to, because in essence, you're telling somebody the reason you're going through this is because of you. It's your fault. You manifested this. And so a person whose dad got killed and mom is a crackhead and they got baby mom, person who's living straight drama in every area of their life, job sucks, money sucks, car sucks. They don't want to hear it's their fault. They'll refuse that. They'll fight it tooth and nail. And so that's my thing. If I can get to someone from the hood, then I can get to anybody. And so that's why I work so hard to try to make it so that it's universal. Like your mom said, irrefutable. I love that. I've never used that word, but I'm like for this, but I'm using it for this. And I think mainstream might be the terminology you were looking for how I put it out there. And I never even tried to put a word on it before, but when you said that, I was like, maybe it's mainstream. But yeah, I just try to make it so that
that's the whole reason,
so that everybody can use it.
Yeah, that's basically the whole reason why we do these conversations, is why we're trying to put it out there, so that this work, this positivity, this energy, this mindset, this, these mental exercises becomes mainstream. It doesn't become alternative in inverted commas. That's why we do this, because we want to reach as many people. We want it to be just part of the common vernacular, just a normal conversation to be had about, your thought processes and so on.
And it's particularly important when you're speaking to those who maybe are not open to this kind of positivity chat, if you start talking about, as my mum does, the chakras and the great absorption of one's essence into the infinite and all these lofty phrases, that their eyes will just glaze over, they won't listen. And I think what you clearly do, and what I try and do as well in my own weird way, is say it in a way that it speaks to them. Everyone's different, and there's a way of getting through to each individual. And I think there's a great deal of empathy required there to know how to get through to them. And I think, obviously, I imagine that's been a thing that you care about. Obviously, you're a dad. You used to be a police officer. You've got to know how to communicate with people, right? How do you go about doing that?
I think I was natural at it, because I honestly didn't work at it. By the time I learned the law of attraction, I was already real good at it. When in the police department, working, profiling and getting into people's heads and stuff like that, and being able to communicate and pull information out of somebody, or being able to just diagnose whether they're lying or not, looking at their face, their eyes, their facial expressions. It all just came naturally to me. And I loved that area of study, which made me want to study it more. So I took a lot of classes and stuff like that. So by the time I learned the law of attraction, it was just like, okay, input the information into the formula that I already know. And that's how you get them. I've never lost in court. Never, knock on wood. I've never lost. I don't believe in knocking on wood, but I still knock on it anyway, just in case. But I've never lost in court. It was just cake. If you know how to if you know how to write a report, it can't be denied. It can't be denied. I didn't go to court a lot because I knew how to write a great report. Yeah. And I didn't grow up that way at all. I did not so good in school, but took a bunch of report writing classes in the police department. They would send us off to different universities to take classes if we wanted to. And in those report writing classes, that's where I learned a lot about how to get into someone's head. And that was kind of like the start of my journey. Like, ooh, I like this. And then I just started studying, and they put me to work with certain divisions and stuff like that. And yeah, so for me, it was that. I'd hate to sit up here and so if someone doesn't have it already in them, I couldn't give you the know-how on how to obtain that, other than practice and study and be passionate about how other people are feeling. Because if you're passionate about how they're feeling, you'll learn more about why they feel that way. And it won't be like a study. Like, you mow the lawn, it's like, oh, I don't want to mow the lawn, but I'll do it. It won't be like that. It'll be like me learning more about the brain. I want to do it. I want to know what's going on in your life. I want to know what's going on in your head. Then that person reciprocates it, and then you feel great, and more good vibes and more thoughts become things. It's all love.
It's wonderful. So tell me, you obviously do conferences and talks and so on. So you just said that you've sold out a stadium. I'm just sitting over here slightly impressed. How do you?
That was an affirmation. It's not sold out yet, but July 9th it will be. Yes.
You are selling out stadiums. Yeah, let's just say you are selling out stadiums. It's the reality. What is your obviously from the website people can get your information, but do you do online courses, or like what else how else do people find you? And
NeoPositivity.com is the one-stop shop for everything. If you want to get a t-shirt that says thoughts become things, or like a wristband or whatever. If you want the summit, there's a button obviously on the homepage, but it takes you to neosloasummit.com. That's the landing page for the summit, which is dope. Basically, like over the past 14 years, I interviewed one person at a time, minus the last two. I would interview one person at a time, getting law of attraction information from them, because I wanted to know for myself, but, I would also live stream it or whatever. And so out of two people having a great conversation, exchanging great ideas, we'd always birth a third idea. That was like a collaboration, something I never thought of, they never thought of. I couldn't wait to use it. And I used it, and it got me something, a car, a house, or whatever the situation. And I was just thinking to myself, if that's happening with two people, what would it be like if I brought 8 people and had us all exchanging ideas? And that's where the summit was born. So on August 20th will be the next one. I was doing them every month, Like I just wanted to have as many people as I could. And these are notes from the last summit, and we would just go over stuff. And so, yeah, August 20th from noon to 4 p.m. Eastern time is NeoPositivity Thoughts Become Things Summit. There's going to be, I think, 7 total speakers. It's 4 hours. And the cool part about it is I've spoke at many summits. I've done so many things. And, people do pre-recorded videos to where, with a summit, they'll just play video and then talk and then play another video and talk. I like mine to be more personal. Like each speaker gets 30 minutes. And for the first 5 minutes, they answer 2 questions. How to use the law of attraction in your day-to-day, like affirmations or morning rituals or whatever. And what has it done for you? That's the first 5 minutes. And for the next 25 minutes, you're taking questions from the audience. And I love that because when you test, why I was so happy you like your son's coming. I'm like, yeah, fresh questions, on the fly type stuff. Like, I don't like the whole scripted. I don't want you to come in my summit and read something you've read 15 times at different seminars. I want you to get in there and be freestyling, off the head, off emotion, off the cuff, off intuition. And so, yeah, next 25 minutes is just taking questions from the audience. Then we have lightning rounds where we'll pull like 5 questions in and we'll create a panel in like 60 seconds. Go. And then I'll ask you a question. I'll ask you a question. And we have prizes. Everyone's always giving away autographed books, and I'm always giving away T-shirts and wristbands and the poker chip that you see right there.
Oh yeah.
It says thoughts. It says for those who could see or whatever, it says remember, thoughts become things. Stay focused. That's exactly what it says on my wristband. And on the other side, it just says the website. It has my picture and it says thank you. But that thank you isn't a thank you from me to you for purchasing the poker chip. That thank you is your affirmation. So when you do feel the chip in your pocket, you're like, what is that? Oh yeah, it's the poker chip. That's my reminder to do my affirmation. And you're like, okay, what do I want to manifest? Well, going for the job, but that's not going to be for another 2 months. But I do need some more money, but my back's been hurting lately. And then sometimes you just don't get to do it, because you're just so busy thinking about what you're going to do an affirmation on. And next thing you know, oh, I got to pick up eggs on my way home, and you're gone. At the very least, just say thank you 10 times. That's why I have that on here. Or yes, just 10 times and see what it does to you. So all those types of things are very critical in being successful in this game. And we give all kind of things like that away at the summit. And it's just a great time. It's just a great time. So any social media, it's all there, neopositivity.com.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you. Well, listen, I mean, I hope that lots of people are drawn to you because you've got such a brilliant energy, Neo, and it's been a real pleasure.
Thank you.
Lee, have you got any last questions?
No, I just been thoroughly enjoyed your vibes, Neo. It's been refreshing. It's like stepping into a bath of positivity, which is nice, and we should all do it more often wherever we can.
That's how we are at the summit. When you leave the summit, it's just 4 hours of, oh my gosh, I've got all these notes, all this stuff to try. And so that's like, it's a great way to spend a Saturday afternoon. I love it so much. But yeah, like I said before, thank you guys, for doing what you do and studying. You're in it. You're up there.
You're
in it. The pot is stirring. She's been teaching you things, and you see things on the street, and you process them a certain way, as opposed to had she not been instilling these things in you. And you asking these questions, you're going to take these answers to your peers, and you're going to use them on your children one day. So you're spreading it proactively. And anyone who takes time out of their day to spend time on this, as opposed to just looking through Facebook or just turning on the TV, which is easy, I can appreciate that. I call us all soldiers in the war on negativity. And you guys are definitely 2 soldiers. We appreciate what you guys do.
Same to you.
Thank you, Neo. Yeah, we really appreciate you, and I really appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thank you.